To Serve Man is a 1962 Twilight Zones episode based off the short story of the same name by author Damon Knight. It's about an alien race that comes to Earth promising to share technology that will bring about a new utopia for all mankind. However, being the Twilight Zone, things might not be what they seem. A man named Michael Chambers appears to be prisoner, but for what reason is unclear.
Please deposit cigarettes in appropriate receptacle.
I should take a flying jump at the moon.
That's pretty harsh for a 1960s insult. A voice from a light asks him repeatedly what he wants to eat, but being a prisoner tends to affect one's appetite.
We were preoccupied with the hands on a clock, when we should have been checking off a calendar.
Chambers begins to tell a story of how he ended up in a situation as we get a flashback to a time before they came. Glowing saucers arrive all over the world, putting the people in a state of panic and fear. A race of beings called the Canamites have made their way to Earth as the Secretary General gives a briefing on just what is happening.
The first of these landings took place in an area just outside of Newark, New Jersey. Subsequently, we have had reports of other landings.
Speaking for the United Nations, the Secretary General makes it clear that we are not to assume the Canamites to be hostile to help quell the ever-growing fear. The world's governments appear to be working together with this matter, and that might be the most fictional part of this story about men from space.
It appears that one of the craft has landed just a few blocks away.
As quickly as it's announced, one of the Canamites arrives, and he's a big boy. Coming in at 9 feet tall and weighing 350 pounds, from parts unknown, it's the Canamite. Rod Serling gives us our intro, and all of this so far was just the setup. A 6-minute introduction for a 25-minute episode. Not bad.
A planet far more developed than Earth, but we come as friends.
How many times have aliens come down and said that exact same thing? Don't let the dopey look on his face fool you though, the Canamites are highly intelligent and speak telepathically. It's convenient that they somehow know English though. The Canamites claim they are on a mission of peace, but this guy here doesn't seem all that convinced.
Would you be willing to be interrogated here and at this time? There are UN delegates present of most of the important countries.
Members from nations around the world start questioning the Canamite, why he's there, what kind of help he's offering, but the only one asking the real questions is Mr. Grigori, the representative of the USSR.
Are we to assume that there is no ulterior motive beyond this vast humanity you speak of?
The Canamite says they can test the gifts being offered for themselves, a nitrate that will make crops grow worldwide, and an invisible force field for every nation that will prevent the use of bombs, thus making war obsolete. Although, would this stop planes from flying through? I mean, if planes could still get through the force fields, and how exactly does that stop a bomber? This would also completely destroy any kind of travel around the world.
Only that you simply trust us.
The Canamite conveniently leaves behind his book, and this is where Chambers comes in, as he's a decoding specialist for the US government. For some reason, the Colonel is dumbfounded that Chambers hasn't been able to crack their code in 8 hours, even though Chambers points out it took them a year to crack Japanese code, and that was with a full team. The Colonel believes if they crack that code, they may just discover what the Canamites are planning. Chambers, however, believes the Canamites are here to help.
That new approach to nitrate use they demonstrated in Argentina this morning. I know that country. That's as barren and fruitless as any place on Earth.
Ah yes, the barren landscapes of Argentina. A woman named Patty arrives, as they've apparently solved the title of the book.
Here it is.
Well, that makes the cheese a little more binding, wouldn't you say, Colonel?
They seem pretty optimistic as the translation comes out as To Serve Man. At some United Nations stock footage, the crowd is shown a live broadcast of the Canamite being given a lie detector test, and we all know just how infallible those are.
And the machine showed no deviation. According to it, the Canamite was telling the truth.
Because of this one little lie detector test and seemingly nothing else, governments around the world begin to disarm and dismantle their military, which is a bold strategy. Let's see how it plays out. With the planet now abundant in food and armies disbanded, it seems the utopia the Canamites promised has come true. People are now lining up for a chance to fly to the distant Canamite homeworld and enjoying their customs and traditions.
She says the day you land, they take you on a conducted tour of all their shops, and you can pick out as much of it as you want.
Hear that, ladies? Shop till you drop. I don't know about you, but I'm questioning why they are weighing each and every passenger. The candidate seems to be really happy with how much this guy weighs for some reason. Poor Chambers, however, looks like he's now out of a job with no more war going on.
Nobody needs to decipher much of anything anymore because there aren't any more codes, simply because there aren't any more secret messages.
The Canamites are in every part of the world now with an embassy in every country. Strangely though, for every one of them that show up here, 1,000 of us go there. Patty asks Chambers if he's gonna go, and he tells her he's on a 10-year exchange waiting list, and she tells him she's waiting too. In the meantime, however, she's gonna continue working on deciphering that book.
But it's starting to fall into place now. I think I'll get the answer eventually.
Chambers awaits his turn to board the craft, and I guess all the Canamites look alike. Patty, however, comes running through the crowd to give Chambers some somber news.
Don't get on that ship! The rest of the book, To Serve Man, it's a cookbook!
Now Chambers is reacting just how anyone who got this information would, but why is no one else? And for sophisticated spacemen, why do they have to manually close the door for their ship? Back to the present, and it's all clear now. The Canamites are trying to fatten Chambers up, so he makes for some fine eating. Can I ask why the Canamites made the doors on their own ship so low that they have to bend down to enter?
Because sooner or later, will all of us be on the menu? All of us.
The Canamites sure use a lot of plastic wrap for their food. To Serve Man was directed by Richard Albert and written by Rod Serling and based on the short story by Damon Knight. The episode is one of the most well-known of the series, and that mostly comes down to its twist ending, that most people likely know even if they haven't seen the episode. Many have likely picked up on it through cultural osmosis, as it has been referenced in many TV shows and movies. One of the most notable is the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror segment, Hungry Are the Damned. In this, the family is abducted by aliens Kang and Kodos, who want to take the Simpsons to their homeworld for a great feast. However, this is all spoiled by Lisa, who thinks the aliens are trying to eat them. The twist here, compared to the original version, is that the aliens are actually bringing them for a feast and only want to serve the Simpsons.
If you wanted to make Serac the Preparer cry, mission accomplished.
There is also a brief gag in the film, Naked Gun 2.5, where actor Lloyd Bachner, the man who played Chambers, makes a cameo appearance holding a book that says To Serve Man, while shouting, "It's a cookbook."
It's a cookbook! It's a cookbook!
The short story To Serve Man was first published in the 1950 issue of Galaxy Science Fiction and was given a retroactive Hugo Award, which is like the Oscars for science fiction, for Best Short Story in 2001. The episode follows the short story very closely, except for one difference, that being the look of the Canamites themselves. In this story, the Canamites are described as short, hairy, and rather plump, with a pig-like snout and covered in grayish-brown hair. They also wore a green leather harness and green shorts, much different than the giant brainiacs we see in the episode. The Canamites were all played by Richard Kiel, who I'm sure most would recognize as Jaws from the James Bond film Moonraker, and Mr. Larson from the Adam Sandler comedy Happy Gilmore. At 7'2", he was the perfect man for the role of the imposing alien. He did play all of them, including when two of them appear on screen at the same time, which was accomplished with the split screen effect. The spaceship the Canamites used was actually stock footage from other films. When the saucer is seen flying above Washington, D.C., it's actually footage from the 1951 science fiction film The Day the Earth Stood Still. Similarly, the footage of the ship leaving at the end is from the 1956 Ray Harryhausen classic Earth vs. the Flying Saucers, which Harryhausen received no credit for the use of the footage. The retractable stairwell used for the ship was also a prop from the 1956 science fiction film Forbidden Planet, and was reused in several other episodes. Lloyd Bachner played Michael Chambers and is the only one in the entire series outside of Rod Serling to ever speak to the audience in any kind of direct manner. He was mostly a supporting actor throughout his career and generally played the role of a rich snob. To Serve Man is a good little sci-fi story with a fun twist at the end. It might be a little cheesy or slow for today's audiences, but for me this is right up my alley. I sometimes think I was born in the wrong generation. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please subscribe and like the video. What other Twilight Zone episodes would you like to see me cover on this channel? Well, thank you all for watching and take care.